In today's video, we're going to be drawing a graffiti letter X with the 3D effect. These individual letters are super low pressure, quick, easy, fun, and I think you'll enjoy it as much as I did. If we haven't met yet, I'm Rashonda, and I'm the creator of this YouTube channel, as well as the artbyro.com website where you can find even more tutorials. I hope you'll enjoy me today for this fun little quick drawing, and I will see you over in the art studio. Let's head on over. Today I'm going to be drawing a graffiti letter X, and I really like doing these letters and just lettering in general, whether it's bubble letters or graffiti style letters. There's so much you can do with them and things you can change to bring out your own personality or the personality of the person you might be making it for. There's just so much you can do with them. So today I'm going to do, it's going to be kind of a graffiti style, and I think I'll do it 3D. I haven't done a 3D letter in a while, so I think we'll make that a 3D, but I like to start out with just the basic flow of the letters. It's always important to make your guidelines. And then what we'll do is we'll start adding the details in the width and using this as a guide because that's our guideline. So what I want to do is come up here and I want the upper part to get wider because that's going to make it look a little bit more interesting than just plain, even, kind of, we want to avoid making everything symmetrical if we want our letters to be a little more interesting. So I can clean that up a little bit. Okay, so cleaning this up a little bit and making this wider. Normally I clean everything up at the end when I'm all done, but I want to make sure you can see where I'm at and what I'm doing. Make sure you can follow my thought process here. So we want to do the same thing with all the little bits. We'll make this a little bit wider up here. It'll make it more interesting. Bring this down. And I'm drawing everything through so that I can see how it all lines up, and then I'll erase it later. So this is going to get wider up here. We'll have it come down more narrow there. The other thing we can do is have different lengths. So this one, this leg, I guess you could call it, of the letter is going to be shorter than this side. And then we'll bring this out. We can let that come down at an angle over there. And then up here, now we can overlap these if we want. We could have this come up around that way like that, maybe make that a little bit wider. So we're just making little changes as we go. Now normally I would draw this lighter than what I'm drawing it, but I want to make sure the camera is going to be able to pick it up. And bring that down. This would overlap there. Like that. I have this come down. So there is our basic shape for our letter X. Maybe you can play around with the different angles and the way the line flows. I think I liked it better before. there. So we're just trying different things, seeing what it looks like. We're not committed to anything yet. I think that's pretty good. I think that's kind of interesting. So all this is going to get erased. So we're just trying to make it a little more interesting than just a plain, simple letter. All right, so the whole point of this type of style is to do something that captures people's attention. So we just want it to be not just your boring standard letter. I want it to be something more interesting. So now the next step is going to be, before I do the 3D, I'm going to add an outline because it will make things a little bit easier. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just go ahead. Usually I'll add an outline because I feel like it makes it easier to see things. I think I'll just go ahead and we'll keep sketching with the pencil right now. So I'm gonna do 3D, and I'm thinking, because normally I like to go kind of up and to the right. That's just kind of the natural flow of how my arm moves, how my hand moves, but I'm thinking let's come down this way. And I'm not going to be using a ruler because I don't want to. So what I'm going to do is, this is kind of a little bit of a cheat, is I'm going to just keep these lines all parallel with each other. And then this line and this line would be parallel, and then this line, which will be a little bit tricky, we want this to flow the same as what this is. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This gets a little more narrow right there, and that's okay. But this is kind of a weird angle. So I want to bring it down this way a little bit more so we can capture this. And then this line and this line, we're just going to keep parallel with each other. These three all parallel, or roughly parallel. They don't have to be perfect. If you wanted, you could use a ruler and do your vanishing point would be somewhere down in here. But if you don't want to do that, you can just keep everything parallel with each other, and it will come across as being pretty accurate enough, I think. I don't know about you, but I don't always like to make everything all technical and doing all that. That is not that much fun. So then here, I mean, really, these should line up because this is all one extension. And I don't mind that it gets a little narrow there. I think that adds a little bit to it. That's what we call that creative license. Things don't have to be perfect. Just gonna clean it up as we go. Now over here, this is overlapping, but this would be blocking that. You can decide if you're gonna see this or this. So really, probably this shape is what we would see. And since this is on top, this would actually be blocking that too. So we should probably do that way. And then this would be behind there. And I think that's probably about it. I think that should be pretty good. Like I said, everything doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, if you're trying to do a illustration or commercial work, you know, if you're doing some drawings for a customer, if you're a professional artist, then it matters. But if you're just doing this for fun, everything doesn't have to be perfect. We can just make things look pretty good and enjoy what we're doing and have some fun with it. So now I'm going to go ahead and outline, and I'm using my Ohuhu pens. I'm going to use, let's see, I think I'll probably do the little bit bigger one. I like this set. It comes with a bunch of different size pens, different nib sizes, which is nice because they're all in one set, and I think I paid like $11 for that set. And it's got big pens all the way down to small pens, which is really handy to have everything right there, all in one pack. And the price is definitely reasonable. So all I'm going to do is just add my outline. Literally just tracing right over top of all my pencil lines that I'm keeping. And then we can use a big eraser, clean everything up. Like I said, if you want everything to be perfect, you could do actual perspective with your vanishing points. Make everything look as perfect as possible, but in my experience, trying to keep everything perfect and making your drawings all technical, I feel like just really takes the enjoyment out of it. And if you're like me, then you're creating artwork because you find it enjoyable and relaxing, and you do it to unwind a little bit. And if you're always stressing out about things not being perfect, it makes it really hard to enjoy what you're doing. So now I'm going to add some lines in here before we start coloring. And I will probably thicken up this outline a little bit too. And again, you want to keep these lines parallel, roughly. And you could fill this in just solid black, or you could do some kind of gradation of color. A lot of different ways you can do this. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up, and I will be back with you when I have this outline all done.
But I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before I knew. Rewind, take it out of cue. Innocence can be a young man's game. Signed up for the hall of shame. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed when we play our roles and ignore the problems.
I got the outline all done. Then I went ahead and started working on the background a little bit. I have the little paint bubbles outlined with a blue pen, which I've never used before, so I'm hoping that doesn't bleed when I use the markers. But we'll see what happens. Figure if it bleeds a little bit, it'll be fine. You know, graffiti can be a little bit messy, so it shouldn't be a huge problem. So I'm using my Ohuhu Honolulu Bee markers, and I have a couple different greens, and I'm going to do this for the 3D area for the fill in here, and I have this yellow green color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in all of this with this green, and then I'm going to use this other color, which is bud green, and I'm just going to make a little bit of a darker area just along that bottom edge, just to give it a little bit more detail to it. When you're making your art, it's all those little extra things that can make a difference. They might seem small and insignificant, but the little things will take your art to the next level, and they're pretty easy. Now, a lot of times I'll blend my markers, which I'll show you on the face of the letter. For this, I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it just with that little bit of an edge. That little hard edge instead of it blending in. So then we're going to do the same thing down here. Just go right along that bottom edge. Same thing there, same thing there. So that's it for the green. So now I have a couple of purples and I have a pink, and I'll throw these colors up on the screen so you can, if you have the Ohuhu markers, then you will know the exact colors that I'm using if you want to match them. So I'll just put those, I'll put the numbers up on the screen. So I'm going to do a fade, and maybe I'll start from the top this time. Sometimes I start from the top, sometimes I start from the bottom. Just depends on whatever kind of mood I'm in. So I'm going to start with some pink at the top. We're just going to fill that in a little ways. Same thing over here. And then we will blend these together and fade it from pink to purple to a darker purple. So I like doing these little individual letters. It's a good way to play around with some different techniques, colors, your backgrounds, just playing around a little bit. They don't take a long time to do. So now we're just gonna blend that up into the pink so we get ourselves a nice little fade, and we'll smooth this out a little bit more. These individual letters are a lot of fun. I like sometimes just doing these single letters. So now we can take this pink and soften this edge up a little bit. It's not going to be perfect. You're gonna notice it a little bit, but you want to try to get as smooth of a fade as you can, where the two come together. If you're going for that effect and trying to blend them. Now this one is a little more contrast, so it'll be a little harder to blend, but we can make it better than that. So that's the goal, is to, again, we're not trying to make everything perfect. We're looking for something that's kind of in between, sort of a good enough type of a feel to it, is what I usually like to do. And you don't want your artwork to be super sloppy, but you also don't want to stress out so much about everything that it's just not fun anymore. You get frustrated because your skill level does not match what you're trying to do. So one thing to note is that as you layer up the markers, they're going to change a little bit. They're going to get darker with each layer. So you might have to go over things a couple times to get it nice and smooth. So as you can see here, that's still pretty noticeable. And I could go over it more and try to blend that in a little bit better, but that's what I consider that good enough. So it's not perfect, it's not terrible, but you got to have some kind of a stopping point, or you'll just drive yourself crazy going back and forth, and sometimes you just end up making it worse than what it might have been before. So we don't want to overwork things too much. But there's that fine line between having fun and relaxing and creating something that you're proud of. It's like I said, we don't want to have sloppy artwork. But you gotta realize not everything's gonna be perfect. We're always learning and growing, and trying new things is how you're really gonna grow and develop your skills. But if you're trying new things, then that means it's something you're not good at. You can't expect it to be perfect when you're just trying it. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up because this is going to get pretty boring. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the rest of the background. I think I might just fill it in maybe some kind of a neutral color, like a gray or a beige or something. Throwing in a brick wall in the background is always a good option. You can think about how many different ways you could make a brick wall. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up real quick. Actually, I think I'll just do it off camera, and then I'll be back for the final touches. All right, I have the background all filled in, and I thought about putting a little bit of a brick wall back there, but I think I'm just going to leave it as is. I kind of like it with just the colored background. So the last thing that I usually do with my drawings is I use a white jelly roll pen and I add in some white highlights. So I think I'm going to do some of these little bubbles. And I'm doing it sort of random. I'm not going to do every one, I don't think. We can break up some of that color with a little bit of white. I don't know how much you can see this on camera. It's kind of subtle on that blue. And then I can do a little bit on the lettering as well. Just to add a few. Just a little bit, just to liven it up a little. So that's it for this drawing. If you are interested in those Ohuhu markers, if you want to learn more about Ohuhu, I have a link in the description box. And there's also, I'm going to put a link in there to my free graffiti guide for beginners. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about how I do my graffiti lettering, I'll put that in there. And I will see you in the next video. Happy creating! Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you feel inspired to create some of your own artwork. Before you leave, if you did enjoy the video, please hit that like button. That'll really help me out. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to get notified of future videos. But before you leave, check out the description box. There is that link in there to the free graffiti guide if you're interested in that. And I will see you next time. Bye!